How you doing? Vince Carini here again. This is going to be one of our saltwater tackle rundowns. We're going to go over most of my tackle boxes, some of my favorite lures for flounder fishing out here in Barnegat Bay. All right, let's get into it. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of my favorite saltwater lures here. We're going to cover mostly flounder fishing, but I got some bluefish lures mixed in here. I got some of my bass lures here. I got one topwater saltwater lure. I really only use one topwater saltwater lure. We're going to use that. But let me start with my rods and my reels. I always bring these three rods and reels with me every time I go fluke fishing. If I go striper fishing, I'll probably just bring these two. But let's go into the first one. This first pole is a St. Croix Mojo Bass. It's 7 foot, medium power, fast action. It's got a really nice like sensitivity to it for jigging for fluke. I have on here what's called a high-low rig, and I have it tied directly to the braid. If you notice, I have a red hook on the front on the for the teaser hook, and I really only put a piece of bait on there, whether it be Achilles, some spearing, maybe spearing in a squid. If you watch the previous video where I caught peanut bunker, we'll throw a peanut bunker up there and maybe Achilles on this bottom jig head. This jig head is a ½ ounce. It's made by VMC. It's a decent jig head. They're pretty cheap. You can basically get them anywhere. And you put your favorite grub on there with your desired bait for the flounder, and you're good to go. I love the high-low rig. I catch fish a lot on the top teaser with a peanut bunker. That's where most of my strikes come from. But with the jig head, what I notice is I use a white and a chartreuse tail. I'm very particular to using Gulp. We'll go over some of my favorite Gulps in just a minute. But this is a very nice pole. The combo includes a Daiwa BG 2500 series spinning reel. It's super smooth. The whole reel's pretty much sealed watertight. I mean, I wash my stuff every time I come back from fishing, but you really cannot beat these Daiwa BG reels. They're just fantastic. I've been a Penn guy my whole life. I bought Penn reels my whole life, but recently in the last couple of years, Daiwa has been coming out with some serious quality gear. All right, let's move on to the next one. You guys are going to notice that I'm a bit of a St. Croix guy. This is another St. Croix pole. This is a St. Croix Triumph. Best bang for your buck pole. This is a medium heavy fast action 7-foot pole. On all these rods and reels, by the way, I have 30-pound braid with 35 monofilament leader. Probably on this pole and this pole. This is the only one that doesn't get a leader, because typically I'll put a reaction bait on there for just casting and reeling in. But this pole is a little bit heavier than that other Mojo Bass pole that I just showed you. This has a 3/4 ounce jig head on it with the teaser. It's still a high-low rig. It's just a little bit heavier for fishing deeper water. With this particular setup, I've caught fish in the 25-30 pound range. Sure, that's a big fish for this setup. It feels like you're reeling in the Titanic, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to reel in a big fish on a light setup. Biggest fish I caught this year was probably a 25-pound striped bass on this pole. I thought the reel was going to break. Speaking of the reel, this reel is actually a freshwater reel. I just wash it a lot, but I use it for saltwater. It's the Daiwa Legalis. It's a 4000D-C series. I've probably had this reel for about 4 or 5 years. It hasn't slipped up yet. The only time it really gave me like worry, I reeled in a 17-pound cow nose ray. When you reel in a manta ray like that, or a cow nose ray, I should say, they kind of cup their wings and they turn into like a shopping bag, and you're dragging it through the water. It can break a reel. This last one, this is another St. Croix. This is an older one. I got this about 14 years ago. I got this pole. St. Croix, their slogan is best rods on earth, and that's for a reason. This pole is a 7-foot heavy power fast action rod. This rod is so robust, you could probably reel in like a 50-pound striped bass on this and not have a problem. I kind of nowadays this reel's kind of an antique. This is a Penn SS 4500 series. This is one of the few that was made with a graphite body, so it's lightweight. It's a lot of brass on the reel. It doesn't oxidize very much. This reel's got to be over 30 years old, and it's still reeling in fish today. If you see, you go on Craigslist, you go on Facebook Marketplace, you'll find these old Penn SS reels. They are fantastic. Sure, they don't look as nice as the reels today, blah, blah, blah. These reels are tried and true to the test of time. Penn reels, always. All right, let's dive into some of the tackle. We'll start with the gulps. This is kind of a standard gulp. It's got like a lime green to it. It's a grub shape. Um, it's kind of like a worm with this curly tail on the end. That's a typical fluke grub that you could put on one of these jig heads and use as a trailer. These ones that Gulp came out with a few years ago, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, the Gulp came out with these. It's got the body of a minnow with the twirly tail, but you have a white body with the chartreuse tail. I've noticed on all the different color variations that I've used over the years that the white body with the chartreuse tail can catch any fish. It's like the most commonly hit color combination in saltwater, at least in my experience. The next two Gulp grubs I'm going to show you are kind of new to my tackle in the last couple of years, and that's only because some of the flounder I was catching, when you boat the fish, they start throwing up some of the bait fish that they were eating, and they threw up a lot of grass shrimp. So I went on Gulp's website and I found that they make these particular shrimps. They're 3 inches and 8 centimeters long, and they're called the ghost shrimp. And again, I went with a chartreuse color. They didn't have any ones in white that I could find, but they have this like nice tan on top. It's almost like a natural color mixed in with the chartreuse, so it's a little high vis. And they've been working really good. Clearly, I've been using a lot of them because this pack's kind of empty. Now these ones. Now when you're using these ghost shrimp, it is a smaller bait. You're gonna get smaller fish mixed in with your bites. If you want to upgrade the size of your bait, maybe catch some bigger fish, you're gonna go with these ones. These ones are just called straight shrimp. That's what Gulp called them, just straight shrimp and glow with chartreuse. So it's kind of like a glow in the dark with a chartreuse tail. It's a thicker bait. These ones are 4 inches and 10 centimeters long, and I've been catching a lot of fluke on these this season. A lot of keeper fluke. It's been keeping the small fish off the hook. Let me go into one of my tackle boxes here. All right. So in here, you have all my different jig heads and weights for fluke fishing. We have bucktails, we have standard jig heads. These are the ones I was showing you by VMC before. I got them in 3 different colors. I have them in chartreuse, red heads, and white heads. Those are pretty good. Those are all those half-ounce jig heads I told you when you're fishing shallow water and the drift is right. You can get away with smaller baits. For the heavier days, this is 1 full ounce. It's a huge hook, but when you're fishing those deeper water, you don't want to be messing around with small fish anyway. Use a big hook, keep the small fish off. These are called bullet head ones. These are in that three-quarter ounce range. It's a bullet head jig. It's pretty nice. Holds the bait on nice. These are also by VMC. Got some bucktails in here. I really like when I'm buying bucktails, I'll either buy white, chartreuse, or pink and white. This is a 1 ounce. This is a 1 ounce Spro jig head. Very nice. And it's got the larger hook. Keeps the small fish off. This is what it looks like in chartreuse. Very nice. They put a little bit of the red hair in there. Kind of imitate a wounded fish. It's a huge. I think this is like either 3 ounces or 4 ounce Spro jig. A Spro jig head I have. This one glows in the dark because I use it in very deep water. This is a 4 ounce Spro jig head. I've used it quite a bit. That's why it looks a little beat up. It's caught some fish. It's got a huge hook on it. Keeps the small fish off. That's what we're all about. Putting keepers in the box. These are also, I'm a big fan of VMC, not only because those are my initials, but VMC is a very good bait company. Like, they make fantastic hardware, great hooks. They're always sharp, they're always tough, they always last. And these are some jig heads by VMC that I found in a mom and pop shop down here. I think it was the bait shop was in Waretown. But I got them in all different colors. I got them in green, and that's only a half-ounce jig head. It's small. It's in case you want to use a bucktail in shallow water. I got them in white here. That's what it looks like in white. If I can get them out of the box. There you go. They're nice. They do the job. Nice and shiny. Bluefish will hit this too. You know, if you're using white and it's shiny metallic, Bluefish will hit it. Speaking of Bluefish, this is basically like my Bluefish tackle box. It's just full of metal. It's all diamond jigs. We got a heavy diamond jig for when we're fishing deep on the reef. And then, you know, you got a bunch of them in here. All different sizes between 1 ounce, 2 ounce. Depends on how heavy of a bait you want to throw. It also depends on what kind of rod and reel you're using. Because you don't want to put too heavy of a lure on a light pole because you could risk breaking the pole. You know, if you have a light setup, you're going to want to use a light lure. You can't just slap on any old lure on any old pole and reel. It just doesn't work like that. Here, this is also made by Spro, the people who make those bucktails I just showed you out of my jig head box. This is a Spro popper. I typically use this for striped bass when in the season. And, you know, it just sits just like this in the water, and you tug it, and it splashes. It makes a big splash. And if the bass are working, like you see birds that are working, like when they're diving into the water and picking up the bait fish that are on, you know, snapping on the surface, whatever, you put one of these on, good chance you're going to hook into either a striped bass or a bluefish. And it's a lot of fun. The fish comes out of the water and tries to hit your lure. It's exciting. It is. I've had people who don't come fish with me a lot come on the boat, and I'll throw one of these on, and they'll see the fish come out of the water, and it makes their day. It's the best part of the trip. On the subject of striped bass, you have some of the most common baits used for striped bass here. I have the same exact Storm bait. It's a bait by the company Storm. And what it is, it's basically a paddle tail jig head you have here. Hook's coming out of the top. It's got the paddle tail. This probably weighs about 3/4 of an ounce. But we have them in white. We have them in a reflective blue. We got them in chartreuse. And then this is another type of metallic color, but this kind of replicates more of what's common in these waters, and that's bunker. Bunker are very common here. We got peanut bunker. We got a full adult bunker. We catch a lot of the peanut bunker in here, as you've seen in one of our videos, but when you go out into the bay, really, if you're in Barnegat Inlet and you're fishing just outside Barnegat Inlet, there's a chance you're going to come up on a bunker pod. And it's a giant school, full-size bunker, and they look exactly like this paddle tail. When you're fishing in the ocean, there's a good chance you're going to come across full-sized adult bunker pods or schools of bunker. And they're either going to be getting worked by the birds, or they're going to be being worked by bluefish or striped bass. And when you're in that type of situation, you want to replicate exactly what they're feeding on, and that would be one of these. This would be a baby bunker running with the pack, and it's a weak, you know, it's an example of something weak that falls behind. That's what a predator is going to look for. It's going to look for the stuff that falls behind the main school. It's easy pickings, low energy food, and that's what these are. These little Spro storm baits. I'm sorry, it's not Spro. Storm swim baits. These ones here, and I like to use these little guys because, like I said, you want, like, you know, it's just like you're watching National Geographic or the Discovery Channel with lions in the Sahara. You know, what are they doing? They're stalking their prey, and they're following the pack of gazelles running through the Sahara. And what are they going to pick off? They're going to pick off the young ones that can't run as fast as the rest of them. They're going to pick off the older ones that just can't, you know, anything and everything that falls behind the pack is going to get picked up because it's low energy food for the predators. And that's exactly what this imitates. These storm baits, these storm swim baits. Fantastic. I'd say that about wraps it up for today's, you know, basic saltwater fishing and Barnegat Bay tackle. You know, thanks for stopping by. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe at CNC Adventures.